In this presentation, we will take a look at the problem when we have one expense and two classes. In other words, we have one expense items, but we want to split it between two different classes. In our case, those classes being business and personal within QuickBooks. Here we are. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. On the home page, we currently have the open windows open. You open the open windows by selecting the view drop-down and the open windows list. We're going to go over to reports now and take a look at our reports drop-down and go to company and financial and take a look at the profit and loss by class. Profit and loss by class, we're going to change the dates from 01/01/20 to 12/31/20. What we want to consider now is what happens if we have one expense and two classes. Note what we have done in our situation is tried to make a separate account for the personal items as well as being able to classify them in a separate area, business versus personal. Because being able to do that allows us to more easily see if something is misplaced, misclassified, because it's in two different formats. We have a different account for all personal accounts versus business accounts, and we have different classifications so that it'll be easier for us to track those. And what happens if we have one expense that we want to break between the two? For example, and this could happen with multiple different items, but let's take a look at the bank service charges. We had 300 in the bank service charges. Now, of course, the bank is both business and professional, or business and personal. So what if we want to break that bank service charge on the same bank account, because we're using the same bank account, some between business and some to the personal side of things? How can we do that? That's going to be the option we'll take a look at here. Now, if it was two different expenses, then clearly, for example, if we had office supplies and we had office supplies that were for our home, we went to Office Depot for our home and we went to Office Depot for business. If they were two different checks that we wrote or two different electronic payments, then we could just go into each item, we could double click on it, and we can assign each item to the proper class. So that wouldn't be too bad. We can do that, not really an issue. We here would apply it to a different class and a different account to have, again, that double kind of check. But what happens in terms of this case where we have like a bank service charge and it only has one item? We only paid one bank service charge, and we need to break it out between the business and personal. And this could happen for things like automobile charges, gas and whatnot. When we pay for that, we might say, well, how much? I think some of it's business and some of it's personal. How can we deal with those things? First thing we want to do is determine how much do we think should be business and how much should we think should be personal. And one way to do that is just to take a ratio, just to kind of throw a ratio that you think is reasonable out there. And if we're thinking this item was half of its used for business and half for personal, maybe 50-50. Maybe 50-50 is not. Maybe we want a 60-40 or whatever. But we're gonna use some type of percentage. So we'll say, okay, 300 times 50%, 0.5. Let's say we want 50% business, 150 personal, 150 business. Okay, so now once we have that, how can we do that? Well, let's try double clicking on this item and going into it. So here is the item. There's the payment. It's going to this account and it's being classified as business. So one way we could do it is, well, we could just say, how about I just make this another bank service charge down here? And instead of having 300 up top, we'll just have it 150 and then 150. So in other words, as long as these two items down here match the check amount, then we're okay. It will be in balance. The double entry accounting system works and we'll be able to record it. And that allows us over here to assign 150 to business and 150 to personal. So then we'll have that, and then we could save and close and say yes, yes, and close that out. And now we've got the 50-50. But so now that would be great as long as we're okay to be able to negotiate that and be okay that this account now has business and personal split into it. And notice we haven't done that before, because you'll note that everything that's personal over here, or other than that amount, doesn't have a business side. And that can make it easier in some ways because, again, it really makes a clear line. It makes more accounts but it makes a clear line between whether we miscalculated something and put something in the wrong category. Because if there's something in both categories, then according to this system and having a different account every time, then something's going to be an issue with it. So what if we want to set this up maybe as in a different account and the two different classes? Well, we can double click on this item again, double click on this item. And this second one, I'll just set up a new business account for the bank service charge, and I'll just call it personal. And then that's going to break it out. I don't want to put business in front of the business ones because it's more likely that I'll want to print a business report that looks professional, that doesn't have like business in front of the account. Whereas the personal, it's probably not the case where no one's going to ask me so much for give me your personal income statement, because we don't typically format the personal income statement. It's no one's business to see how much we spend on Netflix versus, whatever. So these are just for internal uses. So the fact that we don't have standardized names is fine. If I want to put personal in front of it, I'm not going to be giving this to anybody else. I might compile it in some other way when necessary, but that's the format. These accounts up here, the business accounts, we will maybe want to print a report that looks professional, and therefore we don't want to add other tags like personal or whatnot. So I'm just going to set this up. It's going to be an expense. We're going to continue, and it's going to be an expense that looks good, and save and close, and yes. Okay, refresh the report. There we have it. Now if we close this back out, now we have the 150 here for the business, and the other one's down here because of the alphabetical order. Now it's in alphabetical order within the expenses. So we have personal for the bank service charges down there. And that's a way to get us to kind of break it out between the two, and then have that added check so that every personal account doesn't have any business stuff in it. Again, it does. If we want to have accounts that have both business and personal, and if we use classes in different formats or in different settings, that might be appropriate. But if we have that double check, then when we go into this report, it'll be a lot easier for us to kind of say, yep, that's personal, that's business. Why isn't there anything here? Because we broke out the personal separately, even though it's the same amount that was paid. And again, this could be something for many different areas. We have this problem of breaking out between business and personal. The automobile is often going to be a problem. Possibly like things like meals and stuff like that could be issues. There's going to be different items where we might say part of it should be business, and even the mortgage and the utilities, because we might have a home office or something like that, and we might be saying, hey, part of this should be business related versus personal related. It just depends on our needs and what we're creating this data for. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.